Love, Betrayal, and a Haunted Ranch That Hid a Deadly Truth. Part 1. The Shocking Betrayal. The Message That Changed Everything. Welcome to Heartbound Ashes. Don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel. The text message arrived at 2:47 a.m., the exact moment Sophia Clark's world shattered into 1,000 irreparable pieces. Your husband isn't working late. He's with me. Room 408, Grandview Hotel. Come see for yourself. A friend. Sophia's hands trembled as she stared at the glowing screen, her heart hammering against her ribs like a caged bird desperate for escape. The bedroom felt suddenly suffocating, the walls pressing inward as 3 years of marriage crystallized into this single, devastating moment. Her husband, Marcus, lay sleeping beside her, his handsome face peaceful in the moonlight streaming through their bedroom window. The same face she'd kissed goodbye just hours earlier when he claimed another late night at the architectural firm. She should have ignored it, deleted it, rolled over and pretended the message never existed. But Sophia Clark had never been good at ignoring the truth. 20 minutes later, she stood in the hotel lobby, her coat hastily thrown over pajama pants, her dark hair wild from the pillow. The night clerk barely glanced at her as she moved toward the elevator, her bare feet silent against the marble floor. Each ascending floor felt like descending into hell. 3rd floor. 4th floor. The doors opened with a soft chime that sounded like a death knell. Room 408 sat at the end of the corridor, a thin strip of light visible beneath the door. Sophia's breath came in shallow gasps as she approached, her mind screaming at her to turn back, to preserve whatever remained of her carefully constructed life. But her hand was already reaching for the door handle. It was unlocked. The woman in red. The scene that greeted her would be burned into her memory forever. Marcus, her Marcus, entangled with a woman Sophia recognized immediately. Not a stranger. Not some random affair. But Vivian Hart, Sophia's former best friend from college. The woman who'd stood beside her at her wedding, who'd held her hand through her mother's funeral, who'd sworn they'd be sisters forever. The woman wearing Sophia's anniversary gift to Marcus, a watch she'd saved for months to afford. They didn't hear her at first. Vivian's red dress lay crumpled on the floor like a pool of blood. Marcus whispered something that made Vivian laugh, a sound that used to bring Sophia comfort during their late-night study sessions. Now it felt like glass shards in her ears. How long? Sophia's voice cut through the room like a blade. Marcus jerked upright, his face draining of color. Sophia, God, I can explain. How long? Each word dropped like a stone into water. Vivian had the audacity to smirk, pulling the sheet around herself with theatrical modesty. Does it matter, darling? 2 years, 3 years, what's the difference? Her eyes glittered with something that looked disturbingly like triumph. You were always so focused on your little photography business. Always so busy trying to prove you were more than just Marcus's pretty wife. Someone had to keep him company. 2 years. Sophia's mind reeled. 2 years of lies, of fake smiles, of Vivian sitting at their dinner table, of Marcus claiming overtime while he was with her. 2 years of Sophia believing in a marriage that was rotting from the inside. The pregnancy announcement, Sophia whispered, pieces clicking into place with horrifying clarity. 6 months ago, when I told you both we were expecting, you cried, Viv. You held me and cried. Vivian's smirk faltered for just a second. That was complicated. She lost it, Marcus said quietly, shame finally creeping into his voice. Our baby. She miscarried 2 weeks after you told us about yours. The room tilted. Your baby? With her. Sophia's hand instinctively moved to her swollen belly, where her 6-month-old daughter grew, innocent and unaware of the wreckage surrounding her conception. The confession gets worse. Marcus climbed out of bed, reaching for his pants. Sophia, please let me explain. It started before we got married. We tried to end it, we really did, but before we got married? The words barely made it past Sophia's lips. Her entire relationship, her entire marriage had been built on sand. Our wedding vows. Our home. Everything was a lie. Not everything, Marcus pleaded, moving toward her. I do love you, Sophia. I always have. But Vivian and I, we have history, we have. What you have, Vivian interrupted, standing now, completely shameless in her nakedness, is chemistry that you and your little photographer could never match. Tell her, Marcus. Tell her how you said my name when you were with her. Tell her how you compared us." Sophia's stomach heaved. The room spun. But beneath the nausea and heartbreak, something else began to kindle. Something dark and burning that she'd never felt before. "I want a divorce," she said, her voice suddenly steady. "I want you out of my house by morning." Marcus laughed, actually laughed. "Our house, you mean? The house I paid for? With my money? Don't be naive, Sophia. You have no job, no income. That photography hobby of yours barely covers your art supplies. You can't afford to leave me. You need me." The words hung in the air like poison. The photographs that tell the truth. Sophia looked between them. These two people she'd loved and trusted more than anyone in the world. Marcus, with his perfectly groomed beard and expensive cologne. The successful architect who'd swept her off her feet during their senior year. Vivian, with her model-perfect body and ruthless ambition. The friend who'd always been just a little too interested in Sophia's boyfriend. Then fiancé, then husband. "You're right," Sophia said softly. "I do need you. I needed you both. Needed you to be loyal. Needed you to be honest. Needed you to be human." She pulled out her phone, fingers moving with surprising steadiness. "But since you couldn't manage even that basic requirement, I suppose I'll have to manage without you." "What are you doing?" Marcus demanded, his voice taking on an edge of panic. Sophia smiled, though it felt like her face might crack. "Sending some photographs to a few interested parties. See my little photography hobby? I recently did a series on architecture and urban design. Your firm loved it so much they featured it in their newsletter. Remember? You were so proud." Marcus's face went white. "But what they didn't know," Sophia continued, her voice growing stronger with each word, "is that I also photographed something else. Something I discovered 3 months ago when I installed that nanny cam in our bedroom. You know, the one hidden in the smoke detector? I wanted to make sure our home was safe for the baby." Vivian's smirk vanished. "You're bluffing." "Am I?" Sophia pulled up video footage on her phone, turning it so they could see themselves, tangled together in Sophia's own bed. In her own home, surrounded by wedding photos and baby shower gifts. "I have hours of this. Different dates. Different times. All time-stamped. All crystal clear." The tables begin to turn. "You can't send that," Marcus sputtered, finally understanding. "Don't what? Don't expose you for the snake you are? Don't show the world who you really are behind that perfect smile." Sophia's fingers hovered over the send button. "You took 2 years of my life. 2 years of thinking I was crazy for feeling insecure, for questioning why my husband was always at work, for wondering why my best friend always had excuses to visit when I wasn't home. If you send that," Marcus warned, his voice turning cold, "I'll make sure you get nothing in the divorce. I'll prove you're an unfit mother. I'll take our daughter the moment she's born." Sophia met his eyes, and in that moment she saw him clearly for the first time. Not the charming architect who'd promised her forever. Not the husband who'd held her through morning sickness. But a man capable of cruelty. A man who'd destroy her to protect himself. "Then I guess," Sophia said quietly, lowering her phone, "we're about to find out who's better at playing the long game." The silent promise. She turned and walked out of room 408. Her head held high despite the tears streaming down her face. Behind her, she heard Marcus calling her name. Heard Vivian's sharp intake of breath. Heard the desperate scramble of two guilty people realizing they'd underestimated the woman they'd betrayed. But Sophia didn't look back. She walked through that hotel corridor, past the night clerk who definitely noticed her now, out into the parking lot where the first hints of dawn were breaking over the city skyline. Her hands no longer trembled as she climbed into her car. Her breath came steady now, purpose replacing pain. They thought they'd broken her. Thought she was weak, dependent, naive. They had no idea who Sophia Clark really was beneath the surface. No idea that her photography business was far more successful than she'd ever let Marcus know. That she'd been quietly building a nest egg in a separate account for the past year. That she'd seen the signs of his affair months ago and had been methodically gathering evidence. And they definitely had no idea what she was capable of when pushed too far. As she drove away from the Grandview Hotel, Sophia made herself 3 promises. First, she would protect her daughter at all costs. Second, she would rebuild her life from the ashes of her marriage. And third, Marcus and Vivian would learn that betrayal always comes with a price. The unexpected ally. Her phone rang as she pulled into her driveway. An unknown number. Against her better judgment, she answered. Mrs. Clark? This is Detective Sarah Chun. I apologize for calling so early, but I have some information regarding your husband that requires immediate attention. Can we meet? Sophia's heart raced. What kind of information? A pause. The kind that involves financial fraud, embezzlement, and several very illegal offshore accounts. The kind that would be very helpful to have a cooperative witness for. The sun crested the horizon, painting the sky in shades of pink and gold. Sophia looked at her home, the house Marcus claimed she couldn't afford to leave, and smiled for real this time. Detective Chun, she said, her voice steady as steel, I think you and I are going to be very good friends. When can we meet? As she hung up, Sophia allowed herself one more look at the wedding photo still displayed in their entryway. The happy couple, so full of hope and promises. That woman seemed like a stranger now. But the woman Sophia was becoming? She was someone Marcus and Vivian should fear. Because revenge isn't always loud and violent. Sometimes it's patient and precise. Sometimes it burns slow and hot, reducing everything to ash. And from those ashes something new would rise. Something they never saw coming. End of part 1. What did Detective Chun discover about Marcus? How deep does the betrayal really go? And what will Sophia do when she learns the full truth? Find out in part 2. Part 2: Heartbreak and Revenge. The detective's revelation. 3 hours later, Sophia sat across from Detective Sarah Chun in a corner booth of an all-night diner. The kind of place where nobody asked questions and the coffee tasted like bitter regret. The detective was younger than Sophia expected, maybe 35, with sharp eyes that missed nothing and a manila folder thick with secrets. Before we begin, Detective Chun said, sliding a non-disclosure agreement across the table, I need you to understand that what I'm about to share is part of an ongoing investigation. You cannot discuss this with your husband or anyone connected to him. Sophia signed without hesitation. Trust me, talking to Marcus is the last thing I want to do right now. Detective Chin's expression softened slightly. I saw you leave the Grandview Hotel this morning. I've been surveilling room 408 for the past 3 weeks. I'm sorry you had to find out that way. You knew. Sophia's hands tightened around her coffee cup. You knew Marcus was there with Vivian Hart, yes. But that's not why I'm investigating him. Detective Chun opened the folder, revealing bank statements, photographs, and documents covered in highlighter. Mrs. Clark, how much do you know about your husband's work at Hartwell and Associates? He's a senior architect. He designs commercial buildings, office complexes. He's been there for 8 years. And how much do you know about his private consulting work? Sophia frowned. He doesn't do private consulting. All his work goes through the firm. Detective Chun pulled out a photograph, sliding it across the table. It showed Marcus shaking hands with a man Sophia didn't recognize, outside what looked like a construction site. This is Vincent Moretti. He runs 3 consulting companies that are fronts for money laundering. And this, she tapped another photo, is Marcus meeting with Moretti's associates at least twice a month for the past 2 years. The timeline clicked into place with sickening precision. 2 years. The same time his affair with Vivian started. Not a coincidence, we believe. Vivian Hart's role at Hartwell isn't just PR. She also handles client relations and contracts. We think she's been helping Marcus steal confidential bids, selling them to competing firms, and laundering the money through offshore accounts. The stolen life. Sophia felt the ground shifting beneath her feet all over again. How much money are we talking about? Conservatively, about $2.3 million over 2 years. Money that's been systematically stolen from Hartwell and Associates and their clients. Detective Chun pulled out more documents. But here's where it gets interesting for you, Mrs. Clark. Much of that money has been hidden in accounts under your name. The diner suddenly felt airless. Under my name? That's impossible. I would know if. Would you? When's the last time you checked your credit report? Looked at joint accounts? Signed anything Marcus put in front of you without reading every word? Sophia's mind raced back. Tax documents she'd signed without reviewing. Papers Marcus said were for insurance or investments. Her trusting signature on dozens of forms she'd never actually read because why would she? He was her husband. He set me up, she whispered. If you catch him, I go down too. Unless, Detective Chun said carefully, you're willing to help us catch him first. Cooperate, testify, help us build an airtight case, and you walk away clean. You might even get to keep some of the legitimate assets. Sophia stared at the photographs spread across the table. Marcus smiling at Moretti. Marcus signing contracts. Marcus living a secret life while she photographed weddings and baby showers, never knowing her entire existence was built on stolen money and calculated lies. There's more, Detective Chun said quietly. The accounts in your name? They were opened 3 months before your wedding. This wasn't a scheme that developed during your marriage, Mrs. Clark. This was planned, premeditated. He needed a naive wife to hide behind, and you fit the profile perfectly. The truth about Vivian. The words landed like physical blows. He married me to use me as a shield. We believe so, yes. And Vivian Hart's involvement suggests they've been working together from the start. Her position at Hartwell gave them access to everything they needed. Your marriage gave them legitimacy and legal protection. Sophia thought back to her wedding day. Vivian helping her into her dress. Marcus's eyes tearing up as she walked down the aisle. The speeches about true love and destiny. All of it theater. All of it lies. I'll help you, Sophia said, her voice hardening. Whatever you need. But I want them both to pay. Not just Marcus. Vivian too. Detective Chun nodded. That's what I was hoping you'd say. Because to make this case stick, we need evidence from inside your home. Specifically, we need access to Marcus's personal computer and any documents he keeps there. Can you do that? He keeps everything in his home office. I'm not allowed in there. He says it's about client confidentiality, but I can get in. I know where he hides the spare key. Perfect. I'm going to give you a flash drive. It will automatically copy everything on his computer without leaving a trace. But Mrs. Clark, Detective Chen's expression turned grave. The moment you do this, you're committed. If Marcus finds out you're helping us, he becomes dangerous. Embezzlers don't usually turn violent, but when they're cornered, anything can happen. Sophia thought about her daughter, growing safely in her belly. Thought about the life she'd almost settled for, raising a child in a house built on crime and deception. Thought about Marcus's threat to take their daughter, to prove Sophia was an unfit mother. He's already dangerous, Sophia said. I just didn't know it until tonight. The careful plan. Over the next hour, Detective Chun outlined the plan. Sophia would go home, act normal, pretend the night at the hotel never happened. She'd wait for Marcus to leave for work, then copy his hard drive. They'd monitor his communications, track his meetings, build an unbreakable case. What about Vivian? Sophia asked. She knows I saw them. She'll tell Marcus I threatened to expose them. Let her. Let Marcus think you're too weak to follow through. Let him believe his threats worked. Detective Chun leaned forward. Men like your husband always underestimate the women they hurt. That's how we catch them. As dawn broke fully over the city, Sophia drove home with the flash drive hidden in her purse and a recording device taped beneath her shirt. She was wired now, literally and figuratively. Every conversation with Marcus would be recorded. Every lie documented. She pulled into her driveway to find Marcus's car already there. Her heart hammered as she walked through the front door. But she forced her face into a mask of defeated resignation. Marcus sat at the kitchen table, still wearing last night's clothes. His expression a carefully constructed mix of guilt and defiance. We need to talk. There's nothing to talk about, Sophia said quietly, moving past him to make coffee with trembling hands. The recording device felt like it was burning through her shirt. Sophia, please. I know what you saw looked bad. Looked bad. She spun to face him. You were in bed with my best friend. You've been having an affair for 2 years. You used our bed, our home, our life. What part of that just looked bad, Marcus? The gaslighting begins. He stood, moving toward her with practiced remorse. I made a mistake. Vivian means nothing. She's manipulative. She pursued me. I was weak. But you, Sophia, you're my wife. The mother of my child. Everything I've built has been for us. Sophia noted his word choice. Everything he'd built. Not they'd built. Never acknowledging her contributions, her sacrifices, the career she'd put on hold to support his ambitions. I want you to leave, she said, making her voice break convincingly. I can't look at you right now. This is my house. It's our house. Legally. Marcus's mask slipped for just a second, revealing the cold calculation beneath. Legally, Sophia, you don't have a leg to stand on. I've supported you for 3 years. Paid for everything. Your photography business loses money every year. I have the tax returns to prove it. If you try to divorce me, I'll bury you in legal fees you can't afford. I'll get custody of our daughter. I'll make sure you end up with nothing. The threat was clear and brutal. But Sophia noticed something interesting. He didn't mention the money. Didn't reference the accounts in her name. He thought she didn't know. So what do you want? She asked, letting tears fall. They weren't hard to summon. Some were real, grieving the man she'd thought she married. I want you to forgive me. Forget what you saw. Be the good wife I married. He actually reached out to touch her face. Vivian is leaving the firm. Transferring to our New York office. It's over, Sophia. It's been over. Last night was just closure. The lies rolled off his tongue so smoothly. But Sophia heard the calculation in every word. He was managing her, controlling the narrative, ensuring she stayed in line. I need time, she whispered. Take all the time you need, Marcus said, relief flooding his features. I'll sleep in the guest room. Give you space. We'll figure this out together. The discovery. After Marcus left for work, genuinely left this time, Sophia watched his car pull away. She waited 20 minutes before entering his home office. Her hands shook as she unlocked the door with the hidden key she'd found months ago in his sock drawer. The office was pristine. Too pristine. No scattered papers, no random notes. Everything filed with military precision. But Sophia knew Marcus. Knew his habits. Knew that beneath the order lay secrets. She booted up his computer using the password she'd seen him type 100 times. Their wedding date, ironically, and inserted the flash drive. The copying process began immediately. A small progress bar tracking the theft of stolen information. While the data transferred, Sophia searched the office. She found nothing unusual in his desk drawers, nothing in the filing cabinets. But when she checked behind the bookshelf, she found a wall safe she'd never noticed before. The safe wasn't even locked. Inside were passports. Not just Marcus's, but 2 more in different names with his photograph. Bank statements from the Cayman Islands. Detailed ledgers showing payments from Moretti's companies. And a burner phone. Sophia's stomach turned as she scrolled through the phone's messages. Most were between Marcus and numbers she didn't recognize. But several were from Vivian. The messages dated back 3 years before Sophia's wedding. One message made her blood run cold. She signed the papers. The accounts are in her name now. Phase 2 complete. Love you, baby. The message was dated 2 days after Sophia signed what she'd thought were life insurance documents. Another message from 6 months ago. The pregnancy complicates things. We need to accelerate the timeline. Once we have enough, we disappear and leave her holding the bag. Sophia's hand moved to her belly protectively. They hadn't just been stealing money. They'd been planning to frame her, abandon her, and leave her pregnant and legally responsible for millions in fraud. The daughter's future. The computer beeped softly. Transfer complete. Sophia ejected the flash drive and restored everything to its original position. But she photographed every document in the safe with her phone, saved the burner phone's messages, and carefully memorized every detail. As she closed the safe and rearranged the bookshelf, she caught her reflection in the window. 6 months pregnant, dark circles under her eyes, wearing the same clothes she'd thrown on to chase her husband to a hotel. She looked broken, but looks could be deceiving. Her phone buzzed. A text from Detective Chun. Did you get it? Sophia responded. I got more than expected. Need to meet ASAP. Within an hour, she was back at the diner, spreading the photographed documents and burner phone messages across the table, while Detective Chen's eyes grew wider with each revelation. This is better than I hoped, the detective breathed. These messages prove premeditation, conspiracy, and intent to commit identity fraud on top of the embezzlement. Mrs. Clark, this changes everything. How soon can you arrest them? We need to coordinate with the FBI. This crosses state lines now with those offshore accounts. I'd say we're looking at 2 to 3 weeks. Can you hold out that long? Can you pretend everything's normal? Sophia thought about Marcus sleeping in their guest room, probably texting Vivian about how well his manipulation was working. Thought about Vivian pretending to transfer to New York, while actually planning their escape. Thought about her daughter, who deserved better than parents who would frame the mother who carried her. I can do more than pretend, Sophia said. I can give you exactly what you need to bury them both. The turning point. Over the following weeks, Sophia became an actress in her own life. She apologized to Marcus for overreacting. She accepted his flowers and hollow promises. She even had coffee with Vivian, who played the apologetic friend with Oscar-worthy conviction. I never meant to hurt you, Vivian said, tears in her perfectly made-up eyes. I love Marcus, but I love you too. I'm leaving because I can't bear to come between you. Sophia smiled and squeezed her hand. I understand. Sometimes love is complicated. I'm just glad we can still be friends. The lie tasted like poison, but Sophia swallowed it down. Because while Vivian performed her departure, Sophia was recording every conversation, photographing every document, and feeding information to Detective Chen's growing case. She also made her own preparations. She consulted divorce lawyers secretly. She transferred her legitimate photography income into a separate account Marcus didn't know about. She researched her legal rights as a pregnant woman facing fraud charges. She built her escape route brick by brick, while Marcus thought he'd successfully caged her. 3 weeks after that night at the Grandview Hotel, Detective Chen called with 2 words that would change everything. We're ready. The confrontation. The arrest happened at Hartwell and Associates during a senior partners meeting. FBI agents, Detective Chen, and federal prosecutors descended on the firm with warrants for Marcus Clark and Vivian Hart on charges of embezzlement, fraud, money laundering, and conspiracy. Sophia watched from the street outside, her hand protectively on her belly, as Marcus was led out in handcuffs. He caught sight of her and his face twisted with rage and realization. You did this, he screamed, struggling against the agents. You bitch. You set me up. No, Sophia called back, her voice carrying across the crowded sidewalk. You set yourself up. I just made sure you couldn't drag me down with you. Vivian emerged moments later, her careful composure shattered. Unlike Marcus, she didn't scream. She just locked eyes with Sophia and mouthed 2 words. You'll pay. But Sophia wasn't afraid anymore. She'd already paid, with 3 years of her life, with trust, with innocence. Now it was their turn. The aftermath begins. The story dominated local news for weeks. The golden couple of the architecture world exposed as criminals. The socialite architect and his PR manager girlfriend, running a multi-million-dollar fraud scheme. And the pregnant wife who'd brought them both down. Sophia sold her wedding ring and used the money to hire the best family lawyer in the city. She filed for divorce and full custody before Marcus could make bail. She cooperated fully with prosecutors in exchange for complete immunity and protection from civil liability. But the real revenge came later, in the quiet moments. When Sophia launched her photography business under a new name and watched it thrive. When she held her daughter, Emma Rose Clark, for the first time and knew she protected her from a poisonous legacy. When she bought a small house with money she'd earned herself, not stolen funds or Marcus's tainted success. And when the trial began 6 months later, Sophia sat in the courtroom every single day, her daughter sleeping peacefully in her arms, while prosecutors used her testimony and evidence to dismantle Marcus and Vivian's carefully constructed lies. The final message. On the day of sentencing, as Marcus received 15 years and Vivian 10, Sophia felt something she hadn't expected. Not satisfaction, but peace. They hadn't just betrayed her, they'd underestimated her. Thought she was weak because she was kind. Thought she was stupid because she trusted. Thought she'd break because she loved. They were wrong. As Sophia walked out of the courthouse into the afternoon sun, her daughter cooing softly in her carrier, her phone buzzed with a message from an unknown number. This isn't over. When I get out, you'll regret everything. It was from Vivian, somehow still able to send threats from county jail. For a moment Sophia felt a flicker of the old fear. Then Emma made a small sound, and Sophia looked down at her daughter's innocent face. She typed back. By the time you get out, I'll have built an empire. And you'll have nothing but time to regret underestimating me. She blocked the number and kept walking toward her car, toward her new life, toward a future she'd fought tooth and nail to secure. But as she drove away, Sophia didn't notice the car following her. Didn't see the man in the driver's seat, wearing sunglasses and a baseball cap, his expression cold and calculating. Vincent Moretti didn't appreciate people who brought down his associates. And he always collected his debts one way or another. The story was far from over. In fact, for Sophia Clark and her daughter, the most dangerous chapter was just beginning. End of part 2. Who is Vincent Moretti really, and what does he want from Sophia? How deep does the conspiracy go? And can Sophia protect her daughter from a threat she never saw coming? The shocking conclusion awaits in part 3. Part 3: The ultimate payback. The shadow at the door. The first warning came on a Tuesday morning, exactly 2 months after Marcus and Vivian's sentencing. Sophia was photographing a newborn session in her new home studio when the doorbell rang. She settled baby Emma in her bassinet, checked the security camera she'd installed after the trial, and froze. A man stood at her door, well dressed in an expensive suit, his posture radiating controlled power. She didn't recognize him, but every instinct screamed danger. She didn't answer. Instead, she watched as he left an envelope on her doorstep and walked away, climbing into a black Mercedes that cost more than her house. The envelope contained a single photograph. Sophia carrying Emma out of daycare, taken yesterday. On the back, written in elegant script, "Beautiful daughter. Would be a shame if anything happened to her." Sophia's hands shook as she immediately called Detective Chun, who arrived within 20 minutes, her expression grim as she examined the photo. "This is Moretti's work," Chun confirmed. "The man at your door was probably Carlo Benedetti, Moretti's head of security. This is how they operate. Elegant threats wrapped in expensive packaging. Why now? Marcus and Vivian are in prison. The case is closed. The fraud case is closed. But Moretti's investigation is ongoing. He's losing contracts because of the publicity around Marcus's arrest. The FBI is watching his every move. He blames you for drawing attention to his operations." Sophia looked at Emma, sleeping peacefully, unaware that her mother's fight to protect her had painted a target on both their backs. "What do I do? We can offer protective custody, but it's temporary, and these people are patient." Sophia finished the thought, her mind already racing. "They'll wait us out, won't they?" Detective Chun nodded reluctantly. "Moretti has resources and time. Unless we can catch him doing something illegal, our hands are tied. The photo's not technically a threat. No explicit message, no direct harm. Smart lawyers would call it a coincidence. The unexpected ally." That night, after triple-checking her locks and setting Emma's bassinet in her bedroom, Sophia's phone rang. Unknown number. She nearly didn't answer, but something made her pick up. "Mrs. Clark, please don't hang up." The voice was female, cultured, with a faint accent Sophia couldn't place. "My name is Isabella Moretti. Vincent is my uncle, and I believe we can help each other." Sophia's blood ran cold. "If this is another threat." "It's not. I'm calling against my family's wishes to warn you. My uncle doesn't make empty threats. He will come after you and your daughter unless you give him what he wants." "I don't have anything he wants. Marcus and Vivian stole from their employer, not from your uncle." "But they also stole from him," Isabella said quietly. "Nearly $500,000 that Marcus was supposed to launder through offshore accounts. Money that disappeared when the FBI seized his assets. My uncle believes Marcus told you where it is before he went to prison." "He didn't. I don't know anything about." "I believe you. But my uncle doesn't, and belief is all that matters in my world." A pause. "Mrs. Clark, I'm calling because I have a daughter too. She's 8, and she'll never know her father because my uncle had him killed for a betrayal far less significant than what he thinks you've done. I don't want your daughter to grow up without her mother." Sophia sank onto her couch, Emma's soft breathing the only sound besides her racing heart. Why would you help me? Because I'm tired of watching innocent people suffer for my family's sins. And because I have information you need about who else was involved in Marcus's schemes. People still on the outside who might help you if you can prove you're more valuable alive than dead. The hidden player. Over the next hour, Isabella revealed a conspiracy far deeper than Detective Chun had uncovered. Marcus and Vivian weren't just stealing from Hartwell and Associates. They were part of a network spanning 3 states, involving corrupt contractors, fraudulent building inspections, and laundered money from Moretti's operations. There's a senior partner at Hartwell named Thomas Sinclair, Isabella explained. Continue 12:27, he's been facilitating everything, providing cover for Marcus's schemes in exchange for a percentage. He's the one who gave my uncle's money to Marcus to launder. And he's the one who now has it. Then why is Moretti coming after me? Because Sinclair told him you have it. That Marcus gave you access codes before his arrest. It's a lie, but my uncle believes it, and Sinclair is using that belief to protect himself. Sophia's mind raced. If I can prove Sinclair has the money, then my uncle's attention shifts from you to him. And Sinclair either returns the money or disappears. Either way, you and your daughter are safe. Why would you give me this information? If your uncle finds out. He won't. I've been careful. And Mrs. Clark. Isabella's voice softened. I saw your testimony during the trial. You were brave and smart in everything my family taught me women shouldn't be. You reminded me that there are things worth risking everything for. Your daughter deserves her mother. Help me prove Sinclair's guilt, and I'll make sure my uncle knows the truth. After hanging up, Sophia sat in the dark, Emma sleeping peacefully beside her. She'd thought her fight was over. Thought putting Marcus and Vivian away was the end. But the truth was more complex, more dangerous, and infinitely darker than she'd imagined. The investigation begins again. The next morning, Sophia met Detective Chun at their familiar diner booth and laid out everything Isabella had told her. The detective listened, her expression growing more troubled with each revelation. Thomas Sinclair? Chun pulled up his information on her laptop. He's been with Hartwell for 20 years. Spotless record. Major philanthropist. If he's involved, he's been incredibly careful. Isabella said he keeps records. Old school. Physical ledgers hidden in his home office. She says he doesn't trust digital trails after what happened to Marcus. And how would she know that? Sophia hesitated. She's been dating Sinclair's son for 6 months. She has access to the house. Detective Chun leaned back. So a mob boss's niece is dating the son of a corrupt senior partner, and she's willing to help us take him down. Forgive me if I'm skeptical. She's willing to help because she has a daughter and she's tired of watching innocent people die. I believe her. Belief isn't evidence, Mrs. Clark. And even if she's telling the truth, we can't use information obtained through a romantic relationship to secure a warrant. That's fruit of the poisonous tree. What if I could get into Sinclair's house legitimately? What if he invited me? The dangerous plan. Over the next week, Sophia executed a plan so audacious that even Detective Chun called it reckless. She reached out to Thomas Sinclair through professional channels, requesting a meeting to discuss her photography business. Specifically, she wanted to propose a partnership. Hartwell and Associates would commission her to photograph their buildings for marketing materials, helping restore their reputation after Marcus's scandal. Sinclair, ever the opportunist, agreed immediately. He invited her to his home for Sunday brunch to discuss terms. I'm impressed by your resilience, Mrs. Clark, he'd said on the phone. Many women would have crumbled under what you endured. I admire that. The words made her skin crawl, but she smiled through the phone. Thank you, Mr. Sinclair. I believe in turning tragedy into opportunity. As do I, he'd replied, and she heard the calculation in his voice. He thought she was an asset to be used just like Marcus had. They were all so predictable. Sunday arrived with perfect weather, the kind of bright, beautiful day that felt wrong for planning justice. Sophia dressed carefully in a professional but approachable outfit, strapped a high-quality recording device under her blouse, perfectly legal since she was a party to the conversation, and left Emma with a trusted babysitter under Detective Chen's watchful protection. Sinclair's home was exactly what she expected. Old money married to new corruption, elegant on the surface with rot underneath. He greeted her with a firm handshake and led her to a study overlooking a meticulously maintained garden. "Coffee? Tea?" he offered, playing the gracious host. "Coffee, thank you." Sophia sat where he indicated, her photographer's eye noting every detail. The locked file cabinet, the wall safe behind a painting, the computer on his desk, still powered on with emails visible on the screen. The confession. As they discussed photography contracts and reputation restoration, Sophia let Sinclair lead the conversation where she needed it to go. She was patient, strategic, asking carefully crafted questions about Hartwell's recovery process, about how they were handling the financial losses from Marcus's theft. "The truth is," Sinclair said, leaning back in his leather chair, "Marcus's actions, while deplorable, exposed weaknesses in our system. Weaknesses I've been quietly fixing. Between you and me, Mrs. Clark, his arrest actually benefited the firm. Certain irregularities were able to be corrected without scrutiny." "Irregularities?" Sophia asked innocently. "You mean other fraud?" Sinclair smiled, the expression of a predator who thought he'd found easy prey. Marcus wasn't as clever as he thought. He stole from the wrong people, people who don't appreciate theft. When he got caught, those people needed their money back. I provided that service. By using the accounts in my name? Sophia kept her voice curious, not accusatory. "Precisely. You signed the documents yourself, after all. If anyone looked into those accounts, they'd find your signature, your authorization. Marcus thought he was framing you, but really he was creating a safety net for all of us." Sophia felt her stomach turn, but she maintained her composure. "That's brilliant, actually. And the money from those accounts is exactly where it needs to be, safely returned to its rightful owners, with appropriate handling fees deducted, of course." He stood, moving to his file cabinet. "Since you're going to be working with us, you should understand how we operate. Hartwell and Associates isn't just an architecture firm, Mrs. Clark. We're facilitators. We make things happen." He was actually showing her the ledgers. His arrogance was so complete that he believed she'd either be intimidated into silence or corrupted into complicity. He had no idea that every word was being recorded, that Detective Chun was parked 3 blocks away with a full tactical team, that Isabella Moretti had already testified to a grand jury about her uncle's operations and named Sinclair as a co-conspirator. The trap springs. "This is fascinating," Sophia said, photographing several pages of the ledger with her phone under the guise of taking notes. "You've created an entire shadow economy. But Mr. Sinclair, I have to ask, aren't you worried about the FBI? After Marcus's arrest, surely they're watching Hartwell closely." "Let them watch," Sinclair said dismissively. "They found what they were supposed to find, Marcus's amateur hour embezzlement scheme. They have no idea about the deeper operations. And even if they suspected, they have no proof. Everything is documented as legitimate business transactions. Marcus was sloppy. I am not. What about Vincent Moretti? I've heard his name in connection with Marcus's case. Isn't he a dangerous man to cross?" Sinclair's expression flickered. Just for a second, a crack in his confidence. "Moretti is a problem that's being managed. His money has been returned. His niece, however, has been disappointingly disloyal. But that's a family matter they'll handle internally." Sophia's blood ran cold. "Isabella. She's been asking too many questions, getting too close to my son. These mob families, they don't appreciate women who think too much." He actually laughed. "But that's not your concern, Mrs. Clark. Your concern is whether you're willing to work with us under our terms." "And what are those terms?" "You photograph our buildings. You attend our events. You provide a wholesome face for our firm, the wronged wife who forgave and moved forward. In exchange, you receive excellent compensation and, more importantly, our protection. Because, Mrs. Clark, you made powerful enemies when you testified against Marcus. Enemies who might still want revenge. Wouldn't you like to know that people like me are watching out for you and your daughter?" The threat was clear, wrapped in the same elegant packaging as Moretti's photograph. "Work for us or face consequences." Sophia felt rage burning through her carefully maintained composure. That's a generous offer, she said slowly. But I have to wonder. If you're so good at covering your tracks, why do you need me? Why risk bringing someone new into your operations? Sinclair's smile turned cold. Because, my dear, you're already in them. Your name is on those accounts. Your signature is on those documents. If anything goes wrong, you're the one who goes down. Marcus made sure of that, and I've simply maintained his insurance policy. You work with us or you work against us. And people who work against us tend to have unfortunate accidents. The revelation. Sophia stood slowly, her hand instinctively moving toward her phone. You know what's funny about insurance policies, Mr. Sinclair? Sometimes they expire. Sometimes the coverage shifts. Sometimes the very thing you thought protected you becomes evidence of your guilt. His expression changed as she pulled out her phone and played back the last 5 minutes of their conversation. His voice clear and damning as he described fraud, extortion, and implied threats. You recorded me? The words came out choked with rage and disbelief. In my own home? Single-party consent state, Sophia said calmly. I'm allowed to record conversations I'm part of. And this conversation, along with the photographs of your ledgers and the testimony of Isabella Moretti, and the documented threats from Vincent Moretti's organization, should be more than enough for the FBI to very carefully examine Hartwell and Associates' operations. Sinclair moved fast, lunging for her phone. But Sophia was faster, and she'd been preparing for this moment. She kicked a panic button hidden under the coffee table, a gift from Detective Chan, and had her phone uploaded to cloud storage before Sinclair could reach her. It's already done, she said, backing toward the door. Everything's been sent to Detective Sarah Chan, the FBI, and the media. You can take my phone, but you can't take back what I've already shared. The cavalry arrives. The front door burst open as Detective Chan and FBI agents flooded Sinclair's home. Weapons drawn, warrants ready. Sinclair froze, his face draining of color as he realized the trap had sprung completely around him. Thomas Sinclair, Detective Chen announced. You're under arrest for fraud, embezzlement, money laundering, conspiracy, and witness tampering. You have the right to remain silent. As Chen read him his rights, Sophia walked out of that house into the afternoon sun, her legs shaking but her head held high. Isabella Moretti stood by an unmarked car, her young daughter beside her, both under protective custody. Thank you, Isabella said simply. My uncle is being arrested as we speak. Federal prosecutors used my testimony, and you're recording to secure warrants. It's over. It's over, Sophia repeated, and for the first time in months she believed it. The aftermath. The trials took 8 months. Thomas Sinclair received 20 years. Vincent Moretti got life without parole for numerous crimes beyond the financial fraud. Apparently, Sophia's investigation had opened doors to prosecute murders, extortion, and racketeering that had gone unpunished for decades. Marcus and Vivian, already in prison, saw their sentences extended when prosecutors proved they'd been part of the larger conspiracy from the beginning. Vivian tried to cut a deal, offering to testify against Marcus in exchange for reduced time. He responded by testifying against her with equal enthusiasm. They destroyed each other as thoroughly as they destroyed Sophia's trust, and she found she couldn't even summon the energy to care. The seized assets from Moretti's and Sinclair's operations were used to compensate victims and fund community programs. Sophia received a portion, money that was actually hers from accounts bearing her forged signature. She used it to open a foundation supporting women leaving abusive or fraudulent marriages, providing legal assistance and financial education. Her photography business thrived under her new name, Sophia Rose Studios, using her middle name and her daughter's name combined. She specialized in documenting survivors, women leaving violence, families rebuilding after disasters, people finding light after darkness. Her work became nationally recognized, featured in magazines and exhibitions. But the real victory came in smaller moments. Emma's first steps. Sophia's first full night of sleep without nightmares. The day she removed her wedding ring and didn't feel like something was missing. The morning she woke up and realized she wasn't angry anymore, just free. The final chapter. 2 years after Thomas Sinclair's arrest, Sophia received a letter from Marcus in prison. She almost threw it away unopened, but curiosity won. Sophia, I know you'll never forgive me. I don't deserve forgiveness. But I need you to know that everything I did, every lie I told, every person I hurt, it all destroyed me more than it destroyed you. You were always stronger than I gave you credit for. I spent 3 years trying to break someone who was already unbreakable. That was my mistake. Vivian and I deserve everything we got. You deserved better. Emma deserves better. I'm sorry I didn't realize that until it was too late. I hope you've built something beautiful from the ashes I left behind. Marcus. Sophia read the letter twice, then filed it in a box with other documents from that chapter of her life. Not to forget, but to remember how far she'd come. Then she picked up Emma, now a bright-eyed 2-year-old, and took her to the park. As they played on the swings, Emma laughing in the sunshine, a man approached, familiar but changed. It took Sophia a moment to recognize Daniel, one of the junior architects from Hartwell who testified against Sinclair, who'd lost his job when the firm imploded but had landed on his feet at a better company. Sophia? I thought that was you. His smile was genuine, warm without agenda. Emma's gotten so big. They talked for a while about new beginnings, about finding good jobs and good people after bad experiences. Before he left, Daniel hesitated, then asked if she'd like to get coffee sometime. As friends, he added quickly. I'm not. I know you have every reason to be done with architects and their schemes. I just thought maybe conversation? Between two people who've been through hell and found their way back. Sophia looked at Emma, then at Daniel, then at the park full of people living their lives, making their choices, taking their chances. She thought about trust broken and rebuilt, about closing chapters and opening new ones, about how revenge wasn't always about destruction. Sometimes it was about building something better than what was taken from you. Coffee sounds nice, she said. As friends. And we'll see what happens from there. Epilogue 5 years later. On Emma's 7th birthday, Sophia threw a party in the backyard of her fully paid-for house. A modest but beautiful place filled with love and laughter. Daniel was there, having gradually moved from friend to partner over the years, patient and honest in ways that still sometimes surprised her. Isabella Moretti came with her daughter, both thriving under new identities in the Witness Protection Program. Detective Chun stopped by, now promoted to lieutenant, bringing a birthday gift and war stories about the cases Sophia's courage had helped crack open. As the sun set and the children played, someone asked Sophia if she ever regretted going after Marcus and his co-conspirators. If she wished she'd just walked away, started over without the risk. Never, Sophia said, watching Emma blow out candles surrounded by people who genuinely loved her. He thought he could destroy me and use my trust as a weapon. Instead, I used his arrogance against him. That's not revenge. That's justice. And it's the greatest gift I could give my daughter, showing her that being kind doesn't mean being weak, and that women who are underestimated are often the most dangerous. As the party wound down and guests departed, Emma climbed into Sophia's lap, tired but happy. Mama, tell me the story about the brave princess. Sophia smiled, tucking her daughter's hair behind her ear. Once upon a time there was a princess who everyone thought was weak because she was kind. But when bad people tried to hurt her and her baby, the princess discovered she was actually a warrior. And she taught those bad people an important lesson. Never underestimate someone who has something worth fighting for. Did she win? Emma asked, eyes already drooping with sleep. She did, baby. She won everything that mattered. And looking around at her home, her daughter, her life built from ashes and determination, Sophia Rose Clark knew that was true. She had won. Not by becoming cruel like those who hurt her, but by refusing to let their cruelty define her. That was the ultimate payback. Living well, loving fully, and showing her daughter that even when life burns you down, you can always rise again. Stronger, wiser, unbreakable. The flames of betrayal had tried to consume her. Instead, they forged her into steel.